let's take a look at all of these 6-foot Christmas trees. I have 3 different ones with different styles. So let me take you up close to each one of these and I'll go over all of the specifications and then I'll let you know all of my thoughts for each tree. So first up, we have the National Tree Company. This one says that it's a 6.5-foot tree, but it does feel like it's more of just a 6-foot tree. So they may have been including the stand in that height and maybe these trees didn't, but they look like the same height to me. So this one up close, I feel like the branches look very realistic. And for a realistic look, I would definitely give this an 8 out of 10. It does have more lights on this tree than any of the other trees. So the National Tree Company has 650 lights on it. That is a lot of lights. Just so you know, for this tree, that is a lot of lights, and you can kind of tell it does have more of a sparkly look than these two over here. And then the National Tree Company does have 4,026 branch tips. So that's counting how many of these branch tips there are. Going back to the lights, I do think these are really well tightly wrapped around the branch tips, so there's no loose cords or anything. And I think it does give it a fuller look as well. The total weight for the tree and the stand is 14.42 pounds. That's pretty light, which is nice because it makes it easier for storing. If you don't have to lug this big heavy tree up to your attic or whatever, this one's pretty light. I will say this one, there was basically no mess. The little pine needles do stay on really well, so this one's very well made. And then something that I always like to test is the sturdiness of the branch tips. So I do have my heaviest ornament right here. It is made out of metal. It's pretty heavy. So we're gonna test and see how sturdy these branch tips are. So I'm just gonna push all of these other branches aside and then we're just gonna test it out on this one. I feel like that's pretty sturdy. It didn't fall too hard. This is also a very heavy ornament, so most ornaments are not that heavy, and the branch tip barely budged. I give the sturdiness of these branch tips an 8 out of 10. Very good. All right, moving on to this Yaheetech Flocked tree. This one is a 6-foot tree, and I would say that that is very accurate. It is 6 feet tall. This one only has 250 lights, so it has the least amount of lights out of these 3 trees. But I do think that that white flocked look definitely makes it glow more, even though there are less lights. I think the white of the flocked kind of reflects the light a little bit better. And then this one has 820 branch tips, so way less than the National Tree Company, but still a lot of branch tips. This one weighs a lot more though, probably because it has that extra material of the fluff on it. So it is 21.74 pounds. That is pretty heavy as far as 6-foot trees go, but you are adding the extra material that the flocked look gives. This one is so messy. I got under here just really quickly to plug it in and I got a bunch of white flocked material all on my flannel. I will say I've moved this a few times in my house, so it is shedding less now that I've moved it a few times, but especially that first setup, it shed the white flock stuff everywhere. So as far as messiness goes, this one's like a 10 out of 10 messy. I do think that this one does look pretty realistic. I like the flocked look. It definitely looks snow covered, which I love. It looks so Christmassy. So as far as the realistic look goes, this Snow Flocked Yaheetech gets a 6 out of 10 for me. But we're not done yet. We're gonna do that sturdiness test just like we did for the other one. So I'm gonna push some of these branches aside so that we can do a sturdiness test on this branch right here. So again, we have my heaviest ornament right here. There's the branch right now. And then when we put it on, it fell all the way down here. So not super sturdy, but this one is a very heavy ornament, so most ornaments are not this heavy. I will say the National Tree Company was pretty sturdy. This one gets like a 3 out of 10 sturdy. So not super sturdy, super pretty, super messy. Okay, let's move on to this Green Spruce Yaheetech tree. This one is also 6 feet tall, and that is very accurate as well. I will say this one is exactly 6 feet tall. And then let me get you a closer look. This one has 300 lights, so more than the white flocked Yaheetech, but half as many as the National Tree Company. And then this one does have 818 branches, so it actually has less than the white flocked. This one is not as heavy as the white flocked one as well. So this Yaheetech Green Spruce tree is 17.64 pounds, so not too bad of a weight. I could still move that around myself pretty easily. This one had a little bit of a mess. Some of the pine needles did fall off while I was putting it together, but only a few and not that many to notice really a difference. I will say this one is probably the least realistic looking out of all three. So realistic look wise, I would give this probably a 4.5 out of 10. It doesn't look super realistic, but it's getting there. Now let's go ahead and do the sturdiness test. So I'm gonna use this branch tip right here and let's see how sturdy it is. Again, not as sturdy as the National Tree Company. And I honestly can't tell if it's sturdier than the white flocked one or not as sturdy. I think honestly, the white flocked one may have been sturdier. So I feel like this is a 2 out of 10 sturdy. It did fall pretty far, but again, most ornaments are not that heavy. I just wanted to see how far this would drop with this heavy ornament. So yeah, not super sturdy, but they will hold up some light ornaments really well. So I did want to show you one more test. I'm going to call it the ambiance test to see how cozy these are when I turn these bright white lights off. And here we go. Just look at those. And with this test, you can really tell that the National Tree Company has double the amount of lights than the other two. This one is absolutely glowing. It has such a cozy, sparkly look to it. This one also has a very warm, cozy look to it. It has like less than half the amount of lights as this one, but I feel like the white flocked look really brings out the light in this one. And then this one has just a nice classic amount of lights on it. I feel like this Yaheetech one is giving off vintage country Christmas, whereas this one's giving off like Christmas fairy tale Hallmark movie. Overall, all of these are really good Christmas trees. I will say that this one, the National Tree Company, is my favorite, but they're all great options, and hopefully this will help you decide what your favorite is.